All right, let's call this lesson 2. Lesson 1, we talked about geolocation and located a simple model and manipulated it a little bit. Let's now just talk about very basic drawing techniques, but with architecture in mind. So we're going to be drawing simple building shapes here. I'm going to use the rectangle tool to start with. First thing I want to let you think about or just notice is that there's a lot of snap to features in SolidWorks and SketchUp. So I'm snapping to the origin point you can see here. If I select my various arrow keys, I can change the orientation on which I'm drawing. So that's the first thing. Just always check your arrow keys if you're trying to mess with your orientation in a new feature. Okay, so let's just draw a rectangle out along this plane and just click it. You'll see down here in the left-hand corner we have some dimensions. I'm going to type in 20 feet, 20 feet, and you'll see that this rectangle adjusts to those dimensions. One thing about SketchUp I've mentioned before is that you, unlike other truly parametric programs, it's a good idea to design as you go, and it's harder to change things on the fly. Not in any way impossible. I'll show you in a second, but it's just the more you can think it through as you're designing, the better in SketchUp. Or you can make other versions. There's lots of ways of doing it. But let's just say we wanted to adjust this. What would be some ways of doing it? One thing I could just grab, let's say this line here. Let's say I want to make this 40 by 30. Hit M for move, and you can see a little icon. That always means move. I can start moving in a direction. You can see the scary thing here, though, is it can get off track. But if I pick an arrow key, in this case it's the left arrow key, I always have to just kind of trial and error which direction I want to go. But now it's locked on that axis, and I can just pull it down and type in 10 feet. And I now have a 40 by 30 rectangle without any trouble. I can also use this tape measure tool, which is also a tool that's used to draw guidelines. So I'm on the tape measure tool. I'll come over here, select the midpoint of this line, and pull out along that axis and draw a line 40 feet away. And, oops, sorry, I don't want to do that. I want to do 20 feet. So I'm going to do that again. 20 feet. And now I can do the same operation I did before, moving this and that line and snapping it to this guideline. So that's two ways of adjusting something you've already drawn. I'm going to go ahead and delete this guideline. And okay, so now we have a rectangle that's made up of lines and a face. And remember, those are on layer 0. I've already created a structure here because I was messing around with this before I started this video. So let's just use that. I made a group. Remember we did that last time. Group and with 3 layers in it: floor, walls, and roof. So let's use this rectangle to make some walls. We'll do that by using the offset tool, which is here in our large tool set. Select it and hover over a line that's connected to other lines, and it will allow me to pull one direction or the other to offset that line a certain amount. I'm going to do that and type in 1 foot. So now I have lines 1 foot away from the lines outside of them. That's not the best way of saying that, but you get it. I'm going to now delete this face on the interior, and you can see we have the perimeter of a wall, or the 4 walls of a building. I'm going to hit P and pull that up 10 feet. So now we have walls of a very small building. I'm going to right-click and select them and group them. Select them, right-click and group them, and place that group on the wall layer. So now let's poke some doors in this, or a door and some windows, and let's just first go random. Now remember, if I were to draw a rectangle that I wanted to be a door on this wall and try to punch it out, I won't be able to do that. I won't be able to go. I can come out, I can go in, but it's not punching anything out. It's a volume. Remember, that's because we are drawing on the group, not in it. So now if I double click on that group and draw something that looks like a door and a window, oops, and hit P for push, I can now punch that hole by pushing in. Now you see this one didn't work. It's always a good idea, just because I went past the 1 foot. So another way of doing this is to push in and just hit 1 foot. That's a foolproof way of doing it. Or you can push in until you see it's the right distance and let go, and that will often work also. So now we have a door and window opening in this wall. Another way we could have done that is to draw guidelines. So I'm back over here. I could come up, let's say 7 feet, and then up 3 feet. And let's go ahead and just make this complete. I'm not gonna measure these. I'll just make some arbitrary guidelines, and now edit my wall. My rectangles will snap to my guides, and I can now punch my openings into the walls. Okay, so now we have a very basic, I'm going to go ahead and just delete those guides, because actually you can turn guides off. So now we can't see them. Let's go ahead and draw a simple floor and roof just to finish this off. I'll come in here, draw a rectangle along the bottom. Let's go ahead and make my floor a foot deep. I can turn off my walls now, my wall layer, select the floor, right click group, and put that on the floor layer. Interesting. I think that there was another floor there because I was playing around before, so I just quickly deleted it. That's why you saw that big extra. Well, it just controls the out. I was playing around with a building that was 40 by 40, so this is the floor slab for that, but I'm going to delete it. That leaves the floor slab that we just made. And let's make a simple flat roof, truly flat, which would not be accurate, but let's do that by once again drawing our rectangle, and then let's offset. So we have an overhang. Let me see if I can snag that line. There we go. Sometimes it's difficult. I'm going to come out 3 feet. Turn off my other 2 layers now. Apparently I didn't put this one on the floor. Oh wait, did the wrong thing. Okay. Now I'm going to delete these lines inside here. Pull my roof up 1 foot. Select the whole thing, group it, and put it on my roof layer. I hadn't selected a layer. And now I have a very simple building. I think that's basically all I want to do for this lesson, but except the following. I would suggest you play around with the rest of these tools. You can make any shape you want. Now what happened there, that was the perfect example. You see, it looked like where I was, as I was drawing this, that I was drawing a rectangle flat on this x-axis, I would call it, or the x-plane, but I wasn't. So you have to be careful with that. And one way of guaranteeing that you're doing it correctly is to go to a camera view. So I went to a top parallel projection. Now I can draw some lines to make a rectangle or a polygon on this plane. Between that's made up of the x and the green and the red line. And sorry, I can tell that it's on that plane because it filled in with the face, and then I can extrude that if I want to, for example. And anyway, I would just play with the rest of these tools. The circle tool, you can draw a circle on the inside of it. There's just different ways of making simple geometry. You can use the spline tool. It's not actually, I guess it isn't really a spline tool. I think they call it that, but it's more just a freehand tool. And there's other things like follow me. So, for example, if I had, if I drew a circle here, and then it's not going to probably work because it's too steep. Let me try this again. And if I now want to pull this circle along this path, I can use follow me, which is a tool above offset, and pull that shape along the path. Sorry, wasn't very. This is awkward because it's sort of too large for the sweep of the path, which is why that happened. But you get the point. You can make more complex geometries with different techniques. By the way, the only reason this is a different color is because each face is two-sided. I can actually reverse the face, these faces here, to make them the same color, so that's not an error. All right, so that's a basic first drawing lesson in SketchUp, or it's the second lesson, but it's the first one where we actually did some a little bit more detailed drawing.